One of the most fascinating things about Georgie and Mandy's first marriage is how it quietly and effectively recreates the Cooper family dynamics that young Sheldon spent years developing. Even though this new show focuses mainly on Georgie, Mandy, and their growing family, the echoes of the old Cooper household are everywhere, in the way they argue, love, and try to hold everything together despite their flaws. It's almost like watching history repeat itself, but through a more mature, sometimes sadder lens. When young Sheldon ended, the Cooper family had already been torn apart by tragedy and change. George Sr.'s death marked the end of their familiar world, and each family member had to find a new path. In Georgie and Mandy's first marriage, we see the lasting effects of that. Georgie, now a husband and father, unintentionally slips into his dad's old role, the provider who's struggling to balance work, family, and pride. There's a sense of déjà vu every time Georgie tries to fix things by himself, refusing to admit when he's in over his head. It's exactly what George Sr. used to do, and just like his father, Georgie's pride often makes his life harder. Then there's Mandy, whose place in the family mirrors Mary's in some interesting ways. She's strong, protective, and emotionally intelligent, but she's also frustrated by the limitations of her situation. Mandy's ambition, whether it's through her TV show career or her desire for something bigger than domestic life, reminds us of Mary's suppressed potential back in young Sheldon. Both women are caught between responsibility and self-fulfillment. And even though Mandy and Mary come from different backgrounds, the emotional tension they live with feels almost identical, trying to hold a family together while quietly wondering what they're giving up for it. The show also manages to bring back that familiar Cooper sense of controlled chaos, the love that's messy but real. Georgie and Mandy's household, much like the one Georgie grew up in, is full of small but meaningful clashes. There's humor, frustration, and affection all mixed together, just like the dynamic we used to see around the Cooper dinner table. Whether it's arguments about money, parenting styles, or family expectations, First Marriage captures that same rhythm that made young Sheldon so authentic. You can feel that these people care deeply about each other, even when they're completely exasperated. What's especially interesting is how the generational cycle plays out. Georgie has inherited both the strengths and weaknesses of his parents. From his father, he got his determination and sense of duty. From his mother, he learned compassion and a tendency to worry too much about others. That combination makes him endearing but also conflicted. He's constantly trying to prove himself as a man while still carrying the emotional baggage of his childhood. Mandy, meanwhile, often finds herself in Mary's position, trying to be the emotional center of the family while keeping Georgie from burning himself out. Even Missy's reappearances in the show keep the old Cooper spirit alive. Her presence adds a bit of the rebellious spark that defined her character in young Sheldon. She brings that sisterly honesty that Georgie sometimes needs to hear, even when it stings. And whenever Mary shows up, the generational tension between mother and son comes back into play, that mix of love, guilt, and misunderstanding that's been a Cooper family trademark since the beginning. The writers clearly know what made the Coopers so compelling. They weren't perfect, but they were real. The same applies here. Georgie and Mandy's first marriage doesn't idealize its characters. It lets them make mistakes, argue, and sometimes hurt each other, but it also shows them learning, adapting, and finding new ways to love. That's exactly what made the Coopers such a believable TV family in the first place. What makes this recreation even more poignant is that now, Georgie is seeing things from the perspective his parents once had. He finally understands the weight of responsibility, the stress of bills, and the constant worry about whether he's doing enough for his family. It's a quiet, emotional payoff for fans who grew up watching young Sheldon. The same boy who used to roll his eyes at his dad's lectures and his mom's prayers is now living that same life, and it's humbling to see him realize how much his parents actually did for him. In many ways, Georgie and Mandy's first marriage isn't just a spin-off, it's a continuation of the Cooper family story. The faces and settings have changed, but the heart of it is the same: love, struggle, and the unending effort to do better for the people you care about. The show has managed to recreate that without feeling repetitive or forced, proving that the Cooper's story still has a lot more to say. By bringing back those old dynamics in a new context, the series reminds us that family patterns are hard to escape, but they can also be healed. Georgie may be repeating some of his parents' mistakes, but he's also learning from them, and that's what gives First Marriage its emotional depth. It's not just about reliving the past, it's about growing beyond it. And in that sense, the Cooper's legacy continues exactly the way it should.